And then when she came back, you lived in town?
When she came back, we lived in Colby, in a little house at the corner of Chickamauga and 3rd Street. My grandparents, Grandma and Grandpa Peters, came to town to live with us so they could be there to take care of the cooking and housekeeping. My mother then died in that fall, in October the 18th, 1920. I had trouble getting me to go to school because I was concerned about my mother. Didn't start school in September. Well, I did start school in September, but having come from a country school, it was a bit of a shock being with probably 20 to 25 kids, and I was in the habit of being tough in what I was doing in the country because of the good help from the teacher. Anyway, at the end of the week, we had a spelling quiz, and I misspelled flag as a 2nd grader, and that hurt me so they couldn't get me to go back to school. I didn't go till after Christmas, and I've thought since that probably the reason they got me back to school then was my father became good friends with the gentleman down the street a block south of us, and he had daughters in school, and one of them was Rosa Beck, and she then took me to school that one morning, and when I came skipping home at noon, I can imagine that was a great joy for my father and my grandparents. I spent the whole morning at school.
Any problem to go back that afternoon?
No, I think everything went fine from then on. I can remember my father taking me, my Aunt Margaret taking me, my Aunt Rosa taking me, and when they leave, I'd go home with them. So I also can remember sitting or being at home during a school time, and they'd say, "You better go hide because here comes the school superintendent. She'll come in and whatever they do to kids who aren't in school in those days."
They threatened you?
Yes, they threatened me, but it didn't do any good until finally my friend Rosa Beck got me to go to school. After my father sold his farm in May 1920, he tried grain, buying of grain. Had an elevator and a grain handling business on the Union Pacific, where now the co-op is located. I'm sure he didn't like that nearly as well as farming, so he was able to repossess his farm in 1924. He moved back to the farm and started growing wheat, especially. Did some corn, even planted a whole section of corn in what we call the trumpeter section, which was southwest of Mackinac, that section. Of course, with the advent of the combine, that's changed wheat production quite a bit. The harvesting cost was reduced greatly by the introduction of the combine. It was faster and much less waste with the combine. One thing my father had tried was a stacker before the days of the combine, which he was excited about because it was a way to stack the wheat without the professional stacker being there as the hitter barge would drive up with the cut wheat that he used for a few years until combine was popular. I guess I should have shown some of these other pictures too. In 1918 we had men feeding wheat onto the threshing machine.
What month of the year did they run the thresher?
They'd have to be in the fall because when they'd harvest the wheat, they'd have to lots of times cut it kind of green, and that would finish maturing in the stack.
Sometimes
So
even
it
in
would be-
September?
Oh yes, September and even October. This is another picture of my grandmother's 11 children, and it was the the wedding celebration. Is that what it is?
Oh,
I can't read it backwards.
the sought home for mother, widowed twice, and 11 children, all went to various professions, and my father, the second oldest, was a farmer.
Okay. I think it's no, it's
1910.
a house that the neighbors went together to build for this
After George
after the
died.
second husband died. That's right. Then I'll show the picture of this big steam engine, this Avery that I talked about a little bit ago. My father was very proud of, which pulled his threshing machine. Here's an example of a header and barge in 1915 was the way that the wheat was cut and taken to the stack to be stacked by, in those days it took 6 to 8 people to run the header, run 2 header barges, stack, and there must only be 2 people on the header barge to handle the wheat as it came from
They were tied in bundles.
the header. No,
They
it
were
was just
just
loose.
loose.
It would be elevated from the cutter, the header that cut the wheat, be elevated, kind of an elevator thing to the header barge. Okay, if you want to think that you're back in the third world country, here's my sister and I. My head was cut off, but you can see what it looked like in the 1920s probably. 1919, my little sister and I. Then I needed to have shown this a little bit ago when I was talking about the wedding celebration, is when the 2 families got together after the wedding in Ellis and had a wedding dinner for my parents. This is in 1919, a picture of the farm sale when my father, I said 1919 and I made a mistake, it was 1920 when he sold his farm. I have a sale bill. So here's a picture of one of the very early combines. I think Brian and Lon might be interested in that. It's one of Uncle John's first ones.
1920. Oh.
Oh, then I need to show this prize one, which is 1913, when we had 4 generations. The grandmother Lau, great-grandmother Lau, grandmother Ulrich, my father, Claude Snellbacker, and I, a few weeks old. 1913. The occasion was the older brother, my father, Uncle Will, had come home for, I think, something like the 4th of July, which would have made me a couple months old. Did that look right? He was going to law school at Ann Arbor, Michigan. He became a lawyer then, and son worked from dawn till dark, taking care of 5 acres by hand per year. At that same time, a United States farmer and his son could care for 500 acres.
No, I
Well, yeah, I guess so. I never thought about that.
I think it would have been dawn to dark, don't
Well,
you?
I know my father would get up early, like 5 o'clock, and feed his horses, get ready to go out as soon as it was daylight. And of course, when he came in for dinner, that was one good thing about the horses. They would stop and have a good rest, because the horses needed the rest.
Right.
So that was one good thing about the horse era. So things were going pretty good in the. Are you filming?
Yeah.
In the late 1920s, and prices were good, and my father was farming for W.D. Ferguson and Garvey, kind of managing some of their wheat acreages. Then the crash came in 1929. My father lost a lot on the stock market, as well as the price of wheat going down at that time to 70 cents. And I need to tell them later, the price of wheat went down to 25 cents a bushel. Going back to where I grew up, after my mother died, they stayed in town with us for a few years. I can remember one controversy when they had the experience with the electric stove for the first time. They'd always used a coal-burning and wood-burning, cob-burning stove out in the country. And my grandmother was used to kind of heating the house with the stove. So she had the electric stove going enough through that 1 month that the electric bill was $80. So they had to change things after that. When 1924, the bus route, consolidated bus route came right by my grandparents' home. My sister and I went to the country with them in 1924. That was my opportunity to go to school from out there at their home, 3 miles southwest of my father's place. I enjoyed lots of good opportunities, including campfire girls. And
did your church have any children's groups or anything like that?
During these years, I went to school with my grandparents, or to Sunday school and church with my grandparents in what was the Evangelical Lutheran Church, the nice white church, steeple church, across the street from the high school, now still standing there. I have fond memories of being in that church, particularly being there with my mother at communion. I can remember her kneeling by the side of the bench during communion, and I was very impressed, and I think back to that many times, and I thought how fortunate I was that I have that memory of my mother, because I don't have a lot of memories of her. Another one I have is being in Sunday school, walking from our town home, that would be, I guess, 4 or 5 blocks west, to church, and my grandparents coming. I went to Sunday school, and my grandparents coming later carrying my hair bowl. It had caught on a on a shrub as I was walking up there, and when they were coming to church, there was my gray and white striped hair bowl. Also remember being in Sunday school and being very anxious about my mother's poor health and asking them to sing "The Great Physician Now Is Near." That was a popular hymn in those days. It meant a lot to me, very consoling to me to have that sung in Sunday school.
Did you have long hair?
I did have a long braid in the back until I was in the 6th grade, and then got my first hair bob, wore it real